its highest level since 9/11. So why did Tea Party Congress members help Democrats shoot down the Patriot Act? Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann is the head of the Tea Party caucus, and she's my guest. Good morning to you, Congresswoman.
Good morning, Gretchen.
So why did you?
Well, I voted for the provision for the Patriot Act. There were members of the Congress who called themselves Tea Party who did vote against the measure. I think it wasn't explained real well to members. This wasn't actually a full reauthorization of the Patriot Act. This was 3 provisions that were temporarily reauthorized for 9 months. I now sit on Intelligence Committee. We're going to be discussing and looking into these areas a little bit more clearly over the next 9 months to find out what we will permanently authorize. This was simply a temporary. It's also important, I think, for viewers to know that we had just a few, we did have a majority of members who did vote for this bill, but not 2/3. And on the vote that we took on Tuesday evening, we needed to have 2/3 vote. It was called a suspension rather than a simple majority.
I understand that, and it was a procedural error, possibly by the Republicans, thinking that they did have the 2/3 vote.
That's right.
But you're head of the Tea Party caucus. Did you talk to those 8 new freshmen coming in, many of whom align themselves with the Tea Party movement? Did you know they were going to vote against it?
You know, I didn't know that they were going to vote against it, and certainly everyone has their right to cast their vote the way that they would. I did speak with several members on the floor that evening just before the vote, but not all of them.
I want to move on to something that President Bill Clinton said about you recently. He said that you're in a different kind of a universe. Listen to this.
Michelle Bachmann said in her Tea Party response to President Obama, everybody knows we have the greatest health care system in the world. That is factually untrue. You can get the best health care in the world in America if you're Bill Clinton or David Gergen or Turkey Faisal, but that's not the same thing as having the best system that works for everybody. So what I think America needs, as much as anything else, is to stop conducting its politics in a parallel universe divorced from reality, with no facts.
So he's basically saying to you, Congresswoman, that you don't have the facts. How do you respond to the former president?
Well, I think the fact is the American people have overwhelmingly rejected the government takeover of health care. And I think what this shows is incredible defensiveness on the part of not only the former president, but current Democrat office holders who don't want to listen to what people are trying to tell them. We've looked across the world where the government has taken over health care, the United Kingdom, other nations, and it's not worked. And I think clearly this shows defensiveness on the part of the president. They don't like it that the American people are rejecting the government takeover of health care, but there's no question this will be a signature issue for 2012, repealing ObamaCare.
Right, and speaking of 2012, I mean, here you have the former president calling you out by name, and you're making waves that you yourself may consider running for president in just a few short years. So is that the case? I mean, are you going to run?
Well, I haven't made a decision one way or another. Right now, what I'm trying to do is make sure that we continue the national dialogue on the issues that are important to us. Certainly, we'll be talking about the identity of who our nominee will be, but that can't dominate the next 2 years of the election cycle. We need to stay focused on the issues because that's what people really care about.
Well, one of the things that you might challenge President Obama on is the fact that he seems to not be as urgent-minded thinking about our debt as you might be. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I think that's true because my focus is now on the next generation, on people who are today about 25 years of age, because they are looking at a markedly reduced standard of living going forward. There's a study that just came out, Gretchen, that said that kids that are today about 24 years of age or in college, those kids are looking at having 37% of their income taken just to pay for Medicare and for Social Security. And that doesn't include their federal income tax or state income tax or property tax. They're looking at a much lower standard of living in the future, and that's different from any previous generation in this country. Every generation has always done better than the previous generation. This may be the first generation that does less well than their parents, and that cannot go forward in the United States.
All right, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, always great to get your thoughts. Thanks for being our guest.